It's a devastating disease that robs victims of their memories and has no known cure. An estimated 26 million people suffer from Alzheimer's worldwide, and there's a global struggle underway to care for those afflicted. All this week we'll be bringing you special coverage of what we know about the disease, the science that may bring researchers closer to effective treatments, and the heavy emotional toll Alzheimer's takes on both the patients and those who love them. All of those issues are being tackled at an international conference in Chicago this week, and in a moment we'll be talking to one of the main speakers. First, the BBC's David Willis has this report on the long goodbye.
Here we go again. It's not hard. It's not hard. Okay, I wonder how she's doing today. How you doing today, Flossie? Love you. You look awful pretty. I think she wants a hug and a kiss from you.
Here, I'll give you a hug. Come here.
Every week, Diane Curley and her son Mike visit Flossie. 78 years of age, she's Diane's mother, Mike's grandmother, and a victim of Alzheimer's disease.
Smile for me. Give me that big, pretty, Flossie smile.
Every visit to this Missouri nursing home is heartbreaking. It's been years since Flossie last uttered a word or betrayed even the faintest glimmer of recognition. Flossie's brain is hostage to a disease which will eventually kill her, but not before it has systematically eroded everything about her that makes her human. Her personality, her memory, her ability to think and speak.
First thing that went on her was her sense of smell, and eventually we know it's going to come down to she'll either forget how to swallow or one of her major organs will start forgetting how to work. So it's just a waiting game, and just love her while we've got her. That's all we can do.
Within Diane's lifetime, the cost of caring for Alzheimer's patients will skyrocket. She and fellow members of her weekly swing dance class are part of America's baby boom, and they're living longer than any previous generation.
There's 77 million baby boomers in the United States. We can barely keep up with caring for Alzheimer patients now. When they start to get Alzheimer's as they age, overwhelm the healthcare system. And now, this you do not feel, is that right?
No, I do now.
Oh, do? Okay, all right, okay.
People whose relatives suffer from Alzheimer's are thought to be at a greater risk of getting it themselves. Not only Diane's mother, but her grandmother suffered from the disease, which is why she's undergoing tests as part of a study program at Washington University in Missouri, where researchers are trying to find a way of detecting the disease even before the symptoms appear.
Okay, we're going to start the next scan. It's going to be at the same time, about 8 minutes long.
Members of the study program are also having their brains scanned and checked for a protein called beta amyloid.
So the amyloid is a normal brain protein. It's there, it's doing normal function, but in conditions of overproduction or underclearance, then it becomes deposited as the plaques.
Those plaques feast on brain cells, and that's what many scientists believe leads to Alzheimer's.
And we can see that amyloid protein, as depicted by these brown stains, is virtually everywhere.
They've recently achieved a breakthrough. For the first time, they can monitor beta amyloid levels in the body, shown as red on these brain scans. The hope is the disease can be prevented from ever occurring by using drugs to flush out beta amyloid, much as heart disease is prevented by lowering cholesterol. But not everyone subscribes to the theory.
Drug companies have focused heavily on the amyloid hypothesis, pumping billions of dollars into researching it, yet there's still no guarantee that beta amyloid plaque is responsible for causing Alzheimer's disease. If it's not, then much of this research could be in vain.
If it is, then the financial rewards could be considerable. One estimate suggests that half the population of the US alone could end up taking a drug which prevents the disease. This week, two pharmaceutical companies, Elan and Wyeth, will announce they're pressing ahead with later stage trials of a drug designed to block the production of beta amyloid. The man leading the research at Elan's San Francisco laboratory believes we'll see a drug to combat the disease within his lifetime.
I think it's reasonable to assume that we can reverse aspects of the disease, certainly change its course dramatically eventually. It might be a little too optimistic to say that we can totally ever reverse the disease process.
But within the next, perhaps, decade?
Absolutely. Yeah, and within the next decade we will have very meaningful treatments.
I love you.
The American government spends roughly 8 times as much on cancer research as it does on Alzheimer's. Campaigners say what's needed now is the political will to make federal funding a priority. That way they can speed the development of effective treatments and end the tragedy of the blank stares and the painfully long goodbye. David Willis, BBC News, San Francisco.
Well, finding a way to eliminate that long goodbye is the very large challenge before the scientists and doctors who've gathered in Chicago this week to share their research. Dr. Sam Gandhi is the chair of the Alzheimer's Association National Medical and Scientific Advisory Council. He joins us now from Chicago. Thank you very much. We heard there that within a decade there'll be very meaningful treatments for Alzheimer's. Do you concur with that assessment?
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for your interest. Yes, I think that estimate is really very realistic in terms of having medicines that we call disease-modifying, that is, medicines that are aimed at the underlying cause of the disease. We don't have such medicines now, but within a decade we should have them.
And what about a cure?
Cure is a little more difficult to contemplate. I think actually more realistic is to try and develop a way to identify the people who are at highest risk and prevent the disease altogether. I think that will be the real cure, is prevention.
And how confident are you that the amyloid plaques are the fundamental cause of Alzheimer's? Because not everybody in the medical community agrees that's so.
Well, we are absolutely certain that in rare genetic forms of Alzheimer's that there are mutations in the amyloid protein that can cause the entire clinical and pathological syndrome of Alzheimer's. So it's not really plausible that in one case the amyloid is entirely causative and another that it's inert and irrelevant. I think there may be other things going on as well, but I think we must purge the brain of amyloid.
Now, we've talked about the fact that compared to, say, research for cancer or HIV/AIDS, there's a relatively small budget allocated to Alzheimer's. Do you know of vital research that's being held back because of a comparative lack of funding?
Well, certainly the competition for research funding at the NIH is incredibly fierce these days, and competition across diseases is also very fierce. So all diseases are slowed down because of this, and all diseases, all cures could be accelerated with more funds.
Now, Alzheimer's could be described as something of a demographic time bomb. We were hearing there about it has a cloud on the horizon for the baby boomer generation. And given that, are you optimistic that there'll be more funding, that you will have more attention paid to this devastating disease?
Well, certainly more attention will be paid as it begins to bankrupt Medicare and threaten the economy. The concern is whether that will be too late to actually prevent that financial disaster.
Well, Dr. Sam Gandhi, we appreciate you joining us from Chicago, and good luck with that research.
Thank you.
Well, tomorrow, as we continue our coverage of Alzheimer's impact, we'll speak to a woman who's battling early onset of the disease and see how she is fighting to make it a national priority.